I was 16 years old when a girl I barely knew whispered a secret so heavy it split the air, and it changed my life forever. We were sitting in world history at Southwood High School in Shreveport, Louisiana, and Beth, she wasn't a friend per se, she was just a classmate who I rarely even spoke to. We'd never hung out outside of school. Heck, we barely even made small talk. But on this one particular day, Beth leaned over and she whispered something I'll never forget. She said, I don't know what to do. And I've never told anyone this, but my father is having sex with me. And he's been doing it for 5 years. And that was it, 2 sentences, and then silence. I remember thinking, what do I do with something like that? I have no training. I mean, I wasn't even old enough to vote. But I was old enough to know this was not okay, and old enough to feel the weight of her words settle into my chest. So I sat there frozen, and my eyes were on the whiteboard in front of me, but my mind was racing. What do you say to that? I mean, what do you do with something like that? I'd never heard anything like it, and I'd never even thought something like that could happen. And suddenly it wasn't a rumor or a story that you overheard. It was real. It was whispered from a girl sitting 2 feet from me in a dusty high school classroom. And she trusted me with that information. I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel wise or brave or anything but scared. But I looked at her and I said, Beth, this is wrong. You have to call the police. You don't have to keep this a secret anymore. She just nodded and that was it. And I don't know if she ever made that call, but I do know this. That moment, something changed inside of me. And years later, looking back, I realized that that was one of the first times someone came to me for more than a listening ear. Maybe they saw something in me before I even knew it existed. A kind of steadiness, a calm confidence, the kind of strength that made it safe to tell the truth and believe they might actually be okay on the other side of it. Beth, she wasn't the first person to open up to me, and she wouldn't be the last. At 16, I didn't have the language for it back then, but I had enough sense to see what was wrong and enough courage to say something. And even as a teenager, people trusted me. Frankly, they still do. Beth wasn't the first person to open up to me, and she wouldn't be the last, not because I had answers, but because I was there, I was present, and I listened without judging, not running away from hard things. And that thread, it's followed me every step of the way. So now 30 years later, 30 plus years later, I've turned that superpower into a calling. I'm the founder and president of Opstra, a company built on leadership that says leadership isn't about control, but it's about connection. That people don't follow titles, they follow trust. We help teams function by teaching leaders to lead from the inside out. We bring emotional intelligence, personality dynamics, and practical training to real people who want real results. But more than that, those people who want to feel whole in the process. Because I believe this to my core, that people don't grow where they're judged. They grow where they're seen, where they're safe, and where they're supported. And that gift, that ability to hold space for others and help them step into something better, it started in that classroom, in that conversation with a girl who told me the most painful truth she'd ever carried. I might have been 16, but I listened, and I didn't look away. And that was the beginning of everything I would later become. It's why today senior leaders pull me to the side after keynotes and tell me their own stories. Why teams open up and get real within minutes of a workshop. And why people like Greg D'Arcy, a civil engineer in Texas, once told me, Amy, you have a way of making people feel more confident in themselves and in their abilities. And I appreciate that about you. It's why they trust me. And that trust, it creates movement. It opens doors, it changes things, and that is my superpower. That's why I do this work. Not just to inspire, but to truly transform.